Hey fans, did you know that Dash is the only digital auction platform built specifically for professional sports teams and their fan bases? It is also your place to score your favorite hockey team's most authentic memorabilia and game day experiences. Dash powers the auctions for your favorite AHL, ECHL, SPHL, NAHL, and USHL hockey clubs, plus many more across sports. Get in on the bidding now by texting DASH to 66866 or visit thesinbin.net and click on Dash Auctions to check out the latest hockey auctions. Dash, making sports bidding so much easier in the digital age. This episode is sponsored by Sporfy, the sports video platform that allows you to instantly capture, replay, and share your favorite game highlights, all without having to film. For more information, visit sporfy.com. That's SPORFIE.com, or download the mobile app from the Apple or Google Play app stores.
Hello and welcome from Central Ohio. This is the Monsters Musings podcast for April the 3rd, 2021. I'm your host, Deana Weinheimer, and I'm very happy that you're here joining me today. As always, this podcast is all about the American Hockey League's Cleveland Monsters. Today, they are actually facing off against the Grand Rapids Griffins. Does that name sound familiar? I've seen them a lot this season. So they're playing later on today in the Purple Game. Now, this is a very special night, and we're going to talk more about that later. I'll be having actually a special guest join me later on today. Monsters defenseman Thomas Schemitsch actually joined me to discuss about the personal meaning behind the Purple Game, why it's a special night for him, and I'll be explaining my personal connection with it as well. But first, let's get caught up on all the news. It has been a little bit since we have last talked. I had to take a little bit of a hiatus from recording. I am sorry about that, but I'm back. We're good. So let's get caught up. So since the last time we talked, we have seen a trade, some new signings, and of course, you're always going to have the odd move concerning the Columbus Blue Jackets. Such is life in the American Hockey League. So first up, on March the 10th, the Columbus Blue Jackets traded goaltender Benny Bevelainen to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Coming back in return was defenseman Mikko Lehtinen. Now, Mikko is with the Columbus Blue Jackets. That wasn't a purely AHL move. He has already played with the Blue Jackets. And, that trade effectively left goaltender Brad Thiessen as the guy for the Monsters for a few weeks. I mean, he has started the majority of the games this season. And I mean, we've said it before, but I'm pretty sure this was not what Brad was thinking whenever he signed back up. I mean, of course, it's always an inevitability that whenever you sign the contract, you're going to be the guy, but I'm sure he was thinking he'd be that third goaltender again. Well, here he is, and he has been, like I said, the guy for the Monsters so far this season. Then just 2 days later, the Columbus Blue Jackets signed former Clarkson University captain Josh Dunn to a 2-year entry-level contract. Upon signing his contract, he was immediately assigned to the Monsters and actually already has gotten his first professional goal. Just a little bit of a background on him. This season, he appeared in 14 games with Clarkson, tallying 2 goals, 3 assists for a total of 5 points, with 26 penalty minutes and a +1 rating. In total, through 3 seasons playing with Clarkson, the 22-year-old notched 29 goals, 26 assists, good for 55 points, 70 penalty minutes, and a +24 in 78 appearances. He helped Clarkson claim the 2019 ECAC championship, was named the ECAC's top defensive forward in the 2019-20 season, and was also named that season to the ECAC third All-Star team. So definitely a great signing, and with the way that things have been going for the Monsters this season, that is a wonderful player to add. Soon after that, the Monsters actually started to get a little bit of goaltending help. This was the first of a couple moves that was going to help Brad, and that came on March the 18th. The Monsters signed goaltender Hayden Stewart to a pro tryout contract. He has played with both the Birmingham Bulls and the Knoxville Ice Bears in the SPHL this season. That was kind of more as a stopgap with Bevelainen being out or being traded, and then Matisse Keith-Lennox being out. It was just Brad. I mean, there's Cam Johnson in the organization, but he has been with the Columbus Blue Jackets on the taxi squad. So that was a move basically made out of necessity. Unfortunately, there was a bit of bad news on March the 27th, where the Monsters announced that forward Trey Fix-Wolanski would miss the remainder of the season following knee surgery. Now, this truly was a huge blow to an already young team. I mean, honestly, you could see the drive that Fix-Wolanski had and the really exciting and still developing chemistry between him and line mate Tyler Sekura. I just hope that he is recovering well and that he is back and better than ever next season. He is definitely going to be a player to watch. He has a real exciting style of play. And just it being his sophomore season, I mean, he's already making moves to try to prime himself for a long career. So needless to say, on the very next day, there were two roster moves. One, obviously, to bring a forward in, but also on the flip side, another forward went out. First, the Blue Jackets recalled Liam Foudy from the Monsters to their taxi squad. And then subsequently, the Monsters ended up signing Tristan Mullen to an amateur tryout contract. And then to round out March, the Blue Jackets signed another contract, this time with upstart forward Tyler Angle. He was signed to his 3-year entry-level contract, which actually will not begin until next season. As of right now, he is on an amateur tryout contract with the Monsters. So far this season, he has 4 goals and 3 assists for 7 points in 6 games. At the time of that release, he was actually tied for the team lead in goals, ranked 6th in points, leads the Monsters rookies in goals, and is second in points second of the rookies for points. Not too shabby for an ATO, am I right? And then we have one more bit of roster news, and that news has been developing over the last week or so. The initial announcement came on March 27th and actually got the latest update earlier on Friday. And that involves goaltender Daniil Tarasov, the 2017 third-round selection by the Blue Jackets. He appears to have finished his career in the KHL and was assigned to the Monsters. Of course, there was a bit of a waiting period, but he is now ready to go in media availability. And you actually get to hear this a little bit later on in the podcast, but in media availability on Friday afternoon, Monsters head coach Mike Eaves says still that Saturday's starting goaltender is a bit up in the air. Both Tarasov and Keith-Lennox are both healthy. They're both ready to go. They've been practicing with the team. But Mike Eaves says that he needed to talk to the Blue Jackets goaltending coach, Manny Legacy, just to kind of see what his thoughts are, who they think will be ready to go. So I guess we really won't know until the Monsters come out for warm-ups on Saturday night. And we'll see if Tarasov gets his first start, or maybe if Keith-Lennox is truly ready to go, we could see him taking the ice for the Monsters. And also to continue on with a little bit of news, the Monsters recently hit a special milestone. In their game against the Texas Stars on March 25th, the Monsters actually celebrated their 1,000th regular season game as an American Hockey League franchise. That game ended up with a 3-1 victory over the Stars. And then with 1,000 games played, the Monsters are positioned behind only the AHL's Cleveland Barons, remember them, who were around from 1937 to 1973, and longevity among Cleveland's rich history of professional hockey franchises. So just a little bit of history on the Monsters for those history buffs like me. The Monsters were actually founded in 2006 after the AHL franchise rights were acquired by Cavaliers chairman and Quicken Loans founder and chairman Dan Gilbert, which the then Lake Erie Monsters were officially brought to life on January 25th, 2007, with the team beginning play on October 6th of that year against the Grand Rapids Griffins in a 3-2 loss in front of 15,132 fans at the formerly named Quicken Loans Arena. The franchise's first win came just 2 weeks later on October 20th in Syracuse, with the first home win occurring on November 15th, 2007 against Quad City. In the first 1,000 regular season games of the franchise, there have been a total of 394 players that have seen ice time. For those wondering, the all-time record is 450, 423, 58, and 68. And over that period, the Monsters have made 3 appearances in the Calder Cup playoffs, including the team's championship run to cap the 2016 season, which was actually the best in franchise history at 97 points. And finally, for those that continue to like the numbers, here's a bit of a trivia question for you. How many fans have attended Monsters games since the franchise's inception? The answer: 3,869,540. So who knows, maybe on your next trivia night, you can use that one. So let's get back into a little bit of a game discussion. So we're going to recap the latest Monsters game, which was a resounding win over the Rochester Americans, a 5-1 victory, which was this past Wednesday night at the Blue Cross Arena. And with the win, the Monsters moved to 7-5-1-0, which is good enough for 4th place in the AHL Central Division. Now, the Monsters actually took an early lead that game after Jake Christensen notched his first professional goal at just 3 minutes and 47 seconds of the opening period, getting assists from Nathan Gerby and Adam Haluka. Now, Cleveland's Gavin Bayreuther also scored a tally at 8 minutes with helpers from rookie Carson Meyer and veteran Justin Scott to send the Monsters to the first intermission, leading 2-0. Now, the second period wasn't as exciting. It was actually scoreless, but early in the third, Tyler Secura began the final frame with the goal at 4 minutes and 18 seconds, once again getting a feed from Christensen and Haluka. And then Josh Dunn, who we talked about a little bit earlier on in the show, actually pushed the score to 4-0 after he recorded his first professional goal. It was on the power play at 9:55, assisted by Tyler Angle and again by Jake Christensen. He had himself a night on Wednesday, but unfortunately, the Americans ended the Monsters shutout bid at 16:09 of the third period. And then to round out the game, Zach Jordan added an empty net shorthanded goal at 18:24 with a helper from Thomas Schemitsch to secure the 5-1 win. Brad Thiessen was in net for the Monsters that night. He made 23 saves, while Rochester's Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen stopping 24 shots in the defeat. Now that game had to have felt really good for the Monsters after a really rough 3-game series against the Texas Stars, the AHL affiliate of the Dallas Stars. Riding off of that high, that well-earned victory, the Monsters are actually getting ready to go into a really rough game on Saturday night against the Grand Rapids Griffins. So that game has a 7 o'clock puck drop in Cleveland at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. And needless to say, the Monsters have their work cut out for them this game. The last time that these two teams met was back on March 20th, where the Monsters actually fell short in a 5-2 loss to the Griffins. That actually started off with a tally by Dylan Simpson, which that marked the 8th time out of 9 games that the Monsters actually scored first. And that was actually the lone tally for the opening frame, getting assists from Nathan Gerby and Trey Fix-Wolanski. But the Grand Rapids Griffins actually started the second period with a vengeance. 51 seconds in, they get a goal from Giovanni Smith. And then Wyatt Newpower, though, actually ended up pulling the Monsters back into the lead with his first professional goal, getting helpers from Tyler Engel and Cole Sherwood. Then Giovanni Smith answered back, bringing a 3-2 lead going into the intermission after Smith scored his second goal of the night at 10 minutes and 20 seconds, and then Chase Pearson notching a tally at 15:27. Pearson would go on to score again in the third period with Riley Barber sealing the deal, getting that empty net goal at 18:33 to finish out the game at 5-2. Brad Thiessen was in net that game, 31 saves, and then Pat Nagel was in net for Grand Rapids, stopping 24 shots in his victory bid. So what do the Monsters need to watch for with Grand Rapids? Well, the first thing to note is that during this season, the Cleveland Monsters are winless against Grand Rapids. A few players to keep an eye out on. Riley Barber seems to have had Cleveland's number this season. He's been super effective. And also, he's from the Pittsburgh area, so it seems like every time the Grand Rapids comes to Cleveland, he has a bit of a support group or a fan club that's there, and I always hear them cheering for him. So it's always fun to see, but you always know that he's going to be playing with a little bit extra motivation whenever he has that crowd there with him. Turner Elson, he can move. I'm not sure what his secret is, but he plays on the wing. And last time I saw these two teams play, he seemed to be outskating everybody that he was in a race with. So another player to watch out for, this one is at center, Dominic Turgeon. He has extremely quick reflexes, so he's pretty effective on face-offs, down in the tight corners. He can just read the play really, really well. So on defense, the player to watch out for is Brian Lashoff. He has a heck of a slap shot. I don't envy the goaltender for having to get in front of those. Dylan McElrath is another one that, especially on the penalty kill, he gets down low. He will block the shots. He defends his goaltender really well. So the final thing to watch out for with Grand Rapids is they may not be the most effective early on in the game, but as the game progresses, especially in the second half of the second period, they really pour it on in terms of the intensity, the speed, the physicality. Just as the games go on, they seem to become more ingrained in the game and more passionate. I'm not exactly sure what it is about their system that does that, but the Monsters will need to capitalize early if they want to ride that out. And that's kind of been a problem that I've seen with the Monsters a bit this season, is that they will start out really nice. As Coach Eves said in a post-game interview last weekend, the starts aren't what they are worried about right now. From what I've seen, the Monsters can come in, they start on time, But as the game goes on, you can see them kind of slipping a little bit, especially if they get out to a lead. I think it's kind of easy to kind of take the foot off the gas a little bit and just kind of settle into a more defensive style of play. Unfortunately, with a team like the Griffins, they cannot afford to do that. They're going to have to keep the pedal down the entire length of the game. They can't settle into a pure defensive mode because Grand Rapids is just going to keep pouring it on. So we will see if Cleveland has learned some lessons from the Dallas games where they had a bit of an issue with that as well, and see if they can't pull out their first victory against Grand Rapids this season. So before we begin our discussion about the Purple game, let's first hear from head coach Mike Eves and forwards Tyler Secura and Josh Dunn.
Can you sort of evaluate the team's play on Wednesday in Rochester?
I guess there's always questions when you travel the day you play, how you're going to come out. We talked about that as a group before the game, like that's not an excuse. Like, we need to have a great start. And we did. We came out as well as I could have hoped and we could have hoped. And as a result, we got an early lead in the first period, and that carried us through the rest of the game. So in looking back on it, it was the best possible start we could have had.
Hello. So do you have any insight into the goalie situation for tomorrow's game?
We're checking on that right now. We want to talk to Manny and get his ideas and thoughts about. We have young Daniil is now practicing with us, and Kivi's healthy. And I think part of the equation of figuring this answer out is to talk to Manny and see like what their preference is. Both boys are healthy, and they've been pushing each other here, getting ready to play. So I think Manny's part of this equation. So we'll get a hold of him today at some point.
I asked Tyler about this. So as a coach, when you're in a situation where there is no playoffs, how do you motivate your guys? And have you ever been in a situation like that?
I guess I would say no, in terms of not having a carrot at the end of the year, in terms of pushing toward, like you said, a playoffs or a world championship. But in a situation, the secondary motivation is different for everybody, because in terms of the big picture, guys are playing for contracts, guys are playing for their future, guys are playing to put meals on the plate for their families. So there's always a secondary motivation. We have a unique group in that we have a lot of we have veterans, but we've got about a lot of new faces that are trying to establish themselves at this level. So they're going to be highly motivated to do that on a day-to-day basis and to establish themselves. I remember personally, when you become a pro, you go through a phase. You go through the phase. Well, you want to see if you can play at this level. That's phase one. And then once you achieve that, it's like, okay, now I want to see how good I can be at this level once I've established that I can play. And then the third phase is, if you have a chance, how long can I play for? And can we win at this level? So right now, I think we have a lot of guys that are trying to establish themselves as far as, can I play at this level? Can I play here so that I can play at a higher level? So I think that the motivation will vary from young man to young man.
And I remember asking you at the beginning of the season how you thought the taxi squad would affect call-ups. It seems like maybe there hasn't been as many lately as there has been, but do you find that there was more disruption this year than last year?
No, we really, in terms of the taxi squad, we only had the one big switch off. Last year with all the injuries we had guys were coming and going on a more regular basis. So it hasn't been, I think the thing that we've had to handle this year, instead of all the injuries or the swapping between taxi squad, has been the COVID. That's been the issue that we've had to come to work and, okay, what's happening today? We have to modify this. We can't come to the rink, so we'll do a meeting on a Zoom. So we've had that's been our tricky part this year, is handling the changes due to the COVID situation rather than the changes due to injury of the taxi squad.
Tyler Secura, he's new to the team, seemed to fit in right from the get-go, and now he's wearing a letter, leading the team in scoring. What makes him such a valuable presence in the room and on the ice at this level?
When Clarkie first shared that we had acquired young Tyler, I went back and looked online, and when I saw that he had a captain on his jersey in Rockford, I thought that's going to benefit us because you don't give that away. It's there for a reason. And, his strength is he's such an intellectual, cerebral player that has good physical gifts. And he's a student of the game. He's like having a coach on the bench or on the ice in terms of his ability to play the way you need to play and the influence that he has with our younger guys. And our younger guys can watch him, what he does before and after practice. And you say, this is how a pro prepares. This is how a pro plays. And when you have somebody that in your locker room, again, we've talked about this before amongst us here, but we coaches are in the room this amount of time. The players are around each other this amount of time, and it's what they say in the room when you're gone that really matters. And having Tyler as a part of that arsenal now with that influence on the young guys, it's hard to put a price on.
Great. And then just one more focus, Carson Meyer has had some big games at the start of the season and collected some impressive assists lately. So what have you seen from him in terms of progression from the start of the season until now, getting accustomed to the league?
Well, there is that jump from college to pro, and I never watched Carson much in college. I heard his name. I knew we had drafted him. I saw him last summer at development camp, or that was 2 summers ago. So I kind of had a sketch vision of him in my head, but didn't really know him as a player. Talked to Clarkey about him. And what I like what Carson has done in terms of his adaptation to this league is he's come in and you see what he can do with the puck. He has some skills, but B, he's come in and he's learned quickly how he needs to play at this level to be effective and be recognized and watched. And he has to play with a certain intensity, a certain edge at this pro game. And he's done that for the most part. So that's a nice combination. And I think that's, we're noticing him on the score sheet, but the foundation of that is his ability to go out and play with a really good, strong physical edge that gets him involved in the game.
So how do you feel that the team is progressing? Do you feel they're going in the right direction as the season has gotten underway here?
I heard the guys talk about today finally having some games that are back-to-back at 3 and 4 and 4 and 8. They like the rhythm. And I think as we get to see that rhythm, Deanna, I think we'll be able to really see where we're at. Like, in Chicago, by the end of that second game, we played really well. Kivy kept us in the first game, but we played well. Then we had that big span off and we come off of that. I don't think you'd really tell where you've improved or how you do until we get in a rhythm of games, and we're starting to right now. And I think we have liked what we've seen.
So Tyler, just to start off, you, Gerby, and Haluka are thriving as a unit in recent games. What is it about that combination and each of your individual attributes that mesh so well, in your opinion?
I think we have kind of a mix of a couple different style players, but they seem to mesh well together, like you said. Gerbs is obviously a very skilled passer and really has the speed and the cutbacks and puck possession when we get into the zone and making plays off the rush. And Helly wants to make plays as well. He's got some talent and an ability to make plays, and I'll try to get to the dirty areas and retrieve pucks and win battles and make some plays as well. And it's nice when they're going in at the rate that they have been recently. So we'll try to keep leading it in that regard.
Hi, Tyler. So I know this is a bit of an odd season, but how do you feel that the season is going based on your expectations heading into it?
I think they've done a great job. Obviously, the organization has taken everything really, really seriously, and we've been able to have fans at our games, so it's been able to feel a little bit normal in that sense. So, I think with the circumstances that we're given, I wouldn't change anything really. I think they've done a great job. Everybody kind of understands that it's not going to be forever, but this is what we have to do to play this season, and that's something that I've tried not to lose sight of and have perspective on, just the fact that we're able to play right now. And looking back home, Canada's heading into another month-long lockdown, and we're able to still do our job and make a living and get better at the game that we love. So yeah, I have no complaints. I'm grateful to be able to play.
And Tom, I was going to ask you something along those lines. What's it like to play when there are no playoffs at the end of the season? How strange is that?
It's really strange. To be honest, I thought going in that it was going to be a little bit more difficult. We've actually done a really good job, and credit the coaching staff and the quality of people that we have in the organization. That every game still means so much, and when you're in professional hockey, you're always playing for something. Obviously, it'd be great because we have a good group of guys and a good team to see what we could have done in the Calder Cup playoffs, but at the end of the day, you're playing for your livelihood. Everyone's playing for another contract next year, and there's so much on the line that the quality of play and everything is probably exceeded my expectations. Actually,
there's been a lot of movement, especially it seemed earlier in the season. How is that easy to get adjusted to, or is that what you expect at the AHL level, or what?
Yeah, you come to expect it at the AHL level. The only constant seems to be change. And I think when you're an AHL player trying to move up to the next level, sometimes, you get opportunities that wouldn't be there otherwise, especially this year when you can't bring in too many guys just from college, junior, or up from the UCHL. You kind of have a unique opportunity where you have an idea that you're going to be on a team for the whole year. And it's just a matter of showing it, whether it's in practice or in a game that you want to be here and that you want to move up after that. So it's something that you come to expect and that I've seen a lot of throughout my career. And so, like I said, I wouldn't expect any different. You're never surprised anymore.
For you as a veteran player, what's fun about being a membership of the leadership group that has so many guys that are first year players? Is there anything that really stands out for you?
Well, I think the first year guys, have come in hungry for sure, as they should, and I think they've been good about soaking up some of the advice and some of the lessons that the older guys bring. It's a different situation here than it was last year in Rockford. Last year in Rockford, I was the oldest guy for a little bit. Almost the entire team seemed to be young or first year players. Whereas this year, there's a ton of guys, veteran players that everyone can kind of pull on the rope. So I don't feel quite as much responsibility to try to take on everything. It's pretty awesome to have, guys like Simmer, Gerbs, Scott or Doubts when he was here. He teased, he's a goalie, but he's a veteran leader on a team, and probably missing a couple more guys too, Galley, et cetera. So it's nice to have a bunch of guys to lean on and a bunch of veteran players, because I think it's really stabilized us in a year that otherwise is pretty unstable.
Awesome. And then thinking back to previous games against Grand Rapids, what makes them a tough opponent for you guys?
They're a veteran team and they play really hard. You know that you're not going to get clean chances. You're going to have to just work and chase the puck for a lot of the game. And so, it's not quite as free flowing and high scoring as some of the other games that are always fun to play in. So I think it's just a matter of getting over the hump and getting a win against them. And once we do that, I think, we're going to see a lot of them coming down the stretch. So even though there's no playoffs necessarily, there's still the incentive to win. Everybody wants to win. We're competitive guys by nature, and hopefully it starts tomorrow.
Take us through that moment and what it really meant for you.
It was just awesome to get that out of the way. It's kind of nerve-wracking coming in here, but the guys have been great. It was a great play by Angs there to make that pass, and I just had my stick down in the right place at the right time. But it was, like I said, it was just nice with the way this year's gone, just be able to play some hockey and get the goal.
Okay, and real quick, I have another one. So what are some early lessons you've learned about the game and your approach at the AHL level compared to college?
At the end of the day, it's just hockey, but I think the guys are better at this level. Obviously, like the stronger guys are stronger at this level. The faster guys are faster. It's just a step up. But like I said, like the guys have been great. They made me feel comfortable, which is a big part about it. And they keep reminding me that it's just hockey. So.
Hi, Josh. Deana Weinheimer with the Sin Bin. So kind of to build off Nicole's questions, how do you feel you're adjusting so far, going quickly from the college to the professional level of hockey?
I'm starting to feel more comfortable every game I'm out there. I think it's just like Coach mentioned, you just got to learn like by hands-on playing and getting these opportunities and making mistakes and learning from these mistakes. So I felt more comfortable as every game's gone on. And as I said, my team, like my teammates, my line mates have done a great job, and they made the transition a lot easier for me.
Hey, Josh, I was wondering, what did you do with that puck? Did they dig it out of the net for you? Did you have it in a special spot?
I haven't gotten it back yet, but I know Dusty's doing some stuff with it, but hopefully I'll get that back soon.
What have been your first impressions of the atmosphere and everything at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, even with limited fans in attendance, and just overall the city of Cleveland too?
Well, I actually love the city so far. I haven't really seen a ton of it with COVID, but we weren't having fans at our school, and so to be able to play in a rink that size and have that many fans, it was an awesome experience. It got me going. I know the crowd got the guys going, so it's a really, really nice rink. It's a nice downtown area. The guys love it. I've heard great things about it, so I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So you're coming in on kind of an awkward, abbreviated season. So just can you give us an idea as to your mindset and what your expectations are for the rest of it?
I think this year's shown us that we have to be ready for any changes at any point. So just take a day at a time. Like I said, I'm happy to be here, happy to be playing hockey. I know the guys are as well. And every day just showing up and being ready for anything that happens, but just ready to play. And like I said, it's just being ready for anything, and I'm having fun doing it.
Now, moving on to the Purple Game. For those that don't know, the Purple Game is an annual theme night for the Monsters that aims to raise awareness in the fight against cancer. This year, the Monsters are partnering with Anthem to host the Purple Game, benefiting the American Cancer Society. The familiar Monsters wine and black will again make way for the color purple, which represents awareness for all cancers. The Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse will be transformed. Their curtain wall will be lit in purple in support of the cause. The Monsters are actually encouraging fans to show their support by wearing purple to the game or by sharing photos on social media of them watching from home to all the team's accounts. As has become custom, the Monsters will be sporting special purple jerseys for the game that are actually going to be available to bid through the Dash auction platform. Proceeds of that will be benefiting the Monsters Community Foundation, where the jerseys will be shipped to the winners after they are sanitized. The auction is going to be open from 5 to 10 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, with more details on bidding being available on the Monsters website or through their mobile app. Now, Saturday's game actually marks the third Purple Game in the team history, and it's actually just one of many cancer-related initiatives that the team has taken on over the years. Past Purple Game auctions have actually accounted for over $33,000 in funds being raised for the Monsters Community Foundation, which in turn donates that money to local charities benefiting Northeast Ohio families that have been touched by cancer. Primarily, it's for the American Cancer Society, which for the third time will have its logo featured on the Monsters jerseys during the game. The Monsters will be highlighting survivors and will actually be honoring them throughout the game, including a special Monsters honorary starting lineup prior to the game. They will be displaying the names of people that are currently battling cancer on the I Fight For signs that will be lining the players' tunnel for recognition. So for those who are looking to further support the cause and to maybe get some merchandise, the team shop will have specialty Purple Game merchandise, and a portion of the proceeds from that will actually be benefiting The Gathering Place, which is a Cleveland-based organization that helps to provide support to individuals and families impacted by cancer. They offer free programs and services to help individuals and the families cope with the impact of cancer. So the team shop will have a variety of Purple Game merchandise, from jersey tees to hoodies, hats, pucks, a wide variety of things. And then, of course, they will also have stations available for you to donate. Now, within the last year, organizations such as The Gathering Place, the American Cancer Society, and initiatives such as the Purple Game have really taken on a whole new meaning for me. Now, last summer, I underwent my own cancer fight after being diagnosed with endometrial cancer late last spring going into last summer. So my battle was a little bit unique when it comes to what you envision as a cancer fight. Luckily, through early detection and an amazing care team, we were able to find my cancer early while it was still considered stage 1A. So I was able to undergo surgery, and after surgery and further biopsies and testing, my oncologist determined that I was cancer-free. So I did not have to go through radiation, chemotherapy, things like that. So with that experience that I had last summer, of course, I don't want to go into too many details about it all, but just having that experience, meeting other cancer patients and survivors, I wanted to bring a special focus on this game, on the Purple Game, on the efforts that the Cleveland Monsters organization is doing in order to highlight all cancers. So next, I'm actually going to be joined by Monsters defenseman Thomas Schemitsch. He joined me on Friday to actually talk about his grandmother, Yvette Rankin, who is a survivor of stage 4 breast cancer. I just want to thank Thomas for his time on Friday, for sharing his stories and memories about his grandmother, who actually is still with us today. Unfortunately, she also suffers from Alzheimer's, dementia, but he shared some wonderful memories of her from whenever she was going through her cancer fight and the time that he got to spend with her. So next is my conversation with Thomas. So while she was going through cancer, I understand that she lived with your family a bit. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, she moved in with us after my grandfather had passed. She moved in with us and had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's prior to that. So obviously living with her was I wouldn't say tough, but having those challenges were there, and whether it just be playing card games with her or those board games to kind of get her mind active. And it's kind of funny because I think they gave her such a poor prognosis that I think being in that environment with I have 3 siblings and my parents. So I think being in that kind of, environment where there's so much going on, and, she would pick us up from the subway, like when we were coming home from school, she would do those kind of things to keep her active. So I think that kind of really helped with that. So I think, even when I went off to junior to play in Owen Sound, which was like 2.5 hours away, she would she would come to every game, and, she wouldn't remember much, but I mean, she would still remember, my number, and she'd be able to point me out on the ice. So that was nice. And we would go out to dinner after the games, and, everyone's kind of parents would come over and be like, oh, like, how's grandma doing? How's she doing? And she'd be like, oh, great. Like,
oh, that's actually really sweet.
Yeah. So she would wear my my pin. So it was cute. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, so I mean, she just didn't have a good relationship with you. It sounds like everybody on the team kind of rallied around her, and she was, at that time, she was definitely a special part to everybody.
Yeah.
So aside from her coming to your games and things like that, what are some of your favorite memories from the time that you got to stay with her, or just growing up?
Yeah, I mean, we were pretty close with my mom's parents. We would every summer we would go down to Vermont for a month. I don't know why we went in the summer because it's kind of a skiing spot, but we would go down for a month and hang out with them. And I wasn't very good because I was young, but I would go golfing with my grandfather, my brother, and my dad. So we had a good foursome there. And I didn't think I went often because I sucked, so I'd get pretty mad. But no, we would go down with them and we would visit them all the time. So I think, just that vacation, and also we had a summer cottage, so they would come a lot. And my like I was saying before, my grandma loved playing cards, so she taught us cribbage. And it's kind of funny because she obviously couldn't remember how many games she had played, so she would always want to play another one. It was like endless games of cribbage. So that's how I kind of got good at cards, because we would always play card games with her and watch movies. So that's kind of what I remember for sure. She was a teacher.
Okay.
She taught, and my grandfather was a deacon, so they were in Hamilton, and that was just like an hour drive. So we would go visit them on holidays and stuff. So yeah, that was what they did.
So what do events like the Purple Game and Hockey Fights Cancer and just theme nights like that, now that you've had this experience, what does that mean for you personally?
Yeah, I mean, it's great that these sort of events take place. Obviously, it's important to me. I think money raised in these sort of events kind of leads to prevention and early detection and even better treatment options. I think those are the keys, and it's so important for that money to come in so that those things can happen for sure.
Understand that. I mean, you hit it right on the head with early detection. I mean, fortunately, but unfortunately, I'm example of that, where thank goodness early detection with my own journey, I was able to get that early before things went too far down. But I mean, your grandmother's a shining example that no matter what stage you are, attitude, mindset, and getting the right care can really help so much. So how did that impact you? Because it sounds like you were pretty young whenever she came to live with your family, and you got to see cancer firsthand. So how did that impact you growing up, and how does that affect you now as a grown adult now?
Yeah, her being, I think I was maybe 13 around the time that she got diagnosed, so I kind of didn't understand the full extent of how serious the stage 4 it had spread to her lungs and liver. So like you said, I think it's a great example of the hope, and she did such a great job of obviously battling, and that. So 11 years later, it's incredible how much she's fought. So, but yeah, back to obviously not knowing the extent, and because of her Alzheimer's, she actually had to go every week for chemo. She had to go. She got smaller doses, but she had to go every week. So that was pretty tough. You don't really understand. Like why is my grandma's hair falling out, and why is she not up to what she's usually doing. So it was kind of tough in that sense. So yeah, like I said, you look back now, you could obviously see why, but as a kid, it's you don't really understand it. But like I said, it's great that she's still with us, and get to still visit her and spend time with her. So that's nice.
Once again, I want to thank Thomas Schemitsch so much for his time and being so open and candid with me, and to the Monsters organization for everything they're doing to highlight the cancer battle and raise awareness of all different kinds of cancers, and to help support survivors and patients of cancer. Well, that is it for episode 5 of Monsters Musings, and you are up to date on all things Cleveland Monsters. Again, thank you so much for listening if you're catching me on your favorite podcasting app, or thanks for watching if you're with me on the Sin Bin YouTube channel. Again, I'm Deana Weinheimer, and you can find me on Twitter at Sin Bin Monsters. There, I'll be live tweeting the games, giving you all the Monsters news live as it breaks. For my written work, you can go over to thesinbin.net. So if you are liking this show, please like, subscribe, favorite, all that good stuff. It really helps the show grow, and it helps me get in front of hockey fans just like you. But if you really like the show and all of our content over at thesinbin.net, please consider leaving a tip in our digital tip jar over at patreon.com/thesinbinhockey. Your support honestly means the world to us, and your tips over on Patreon helps us to continue to expand our coverage and bring you the best coverage of the SPHL, ECHL, and AHL. Also, please be sure to check out all the other Sin Bin podcasts. Until next time, thanks again, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks for tuning in. For all the latest AHL, ECHL, and SPHL minor league hockey news and analysis, head to thesinbin.net. And don't forget to follow the Sin Bin on social media via Facebook and Twitter.
All sports fans have experienced this, right? Something amazing happens on the ice and you think, man, I wish I'd have been filming. Now with the Sporfy app, you can replace that thought with a click. With just one click of a button, Sporfy captures the past 15 seconds of action so you can instantly replay and share your favorite moments all without having to film. And it's easy too. All you have to do is download the app on iOS or Android devices and experience an all-new way of filming sports highlights.